all sorts of courses you can do. You can do short courses. You can read. The internet has a lot of information. There's so many people that have done a lot of self-learning on the internet. And you can enroll for a professional course. You could do a master's. But when going for that master's, ask yourself what it's for. If it's in your 3-year plan, then go for it. But you make sure it doesn't impact on your current role. I've talked about being professional. You need to be very professional and separate your personal life from your work life. Do not drag home problems into work, and vice versa. Do not take your work problems into home. And this is one of the key challenges we have with people. They will come in and say, I'm so sorry I can't work for a week because my maid's mother is sick and so my maid is gone. And so it's your maid's mother. What other solution have you got? You've been out on the street for a year. You finally got in a job and you can't work for a month because your maid's mother, not even your maid. Fire your maid and get another one. So you need to begin to take those tough decisions once you get a job. So split your work life from your home life. You need to seek and live by company values. Different companies have different values, but one of our values at DSCU is integrity and customer service. And we make sure we measure people on a daily basis. Are you honest? Do you call back customers when you promise to? What's your level of service? And many times we'll fire even the best performing people just because they didn't offer a good service to a customer. So you need to live the company values. Finally, I talked about that throughout the presentation. You need to draw up your career path, 3-year career path, and stick to it. And most importantly, you need to appreciate that it takes time. To get to the 3 years, some of us are too ambitious. It's good to be ambitious, but when you get in and begin to get frustrated because you're not growing as fast. Remember, organizations get smaller at the top. It's a pyramid. They can only be 1 MD, they can't be 2. And then they can only be either 2 executive directors in our case or 1. Then they can only be 1 head of HR, they can't be 2. And under HR, there can only be so many people. So it goes broader at the bottom. And that's the hierarchy in life. So you need to appreciate that it takes a slower time. And that's what we are going to move in. Because as it goes higher and you realize you're not getting to the top, maybe you need to exit. So we're going to the second part of the exit. So you know it's time to leave when you begin dreading going to work. You hate work. You are waking up in the morning, you put on your alarm clock, keep adding another 5 minutes. Every time the alarm clock goes off, before you realize it, it's 8 o'clock and you don't want to go to work. So what do? You call in sick. Many people do that. They tell their friends, they brag and say, I actually wasn't sick, but I didn't want to work. You know you decide to leave when you begin working at 70% instead of at 100 plus. When you get a job, you're expected to work at 100 plus. So you're expected to achieve your targets, but exceed them as well. So some people begin working at 70%. You speak negatively about your employer. Have you had people who speak bad about their current employers? They say, I honestly do not know what I'm doing there. I hate them, and it's all hate from Monday to Friday. But every day they go in and they collect a paycheck at the end of the month. You're so negative at work, nothing makes you happy. It's raining, you blame the bank. When it's raining, you say, now it's bank, it's raining, and so you ask some people, what has the bank got to do with the rain? To what extent has the bank influenced the amount of rain that's falling on you? They walk in, a cup is dirty, they go to the pantry. Instead of washing their cups before the person that washes them comes, they begin to complain. Rachel, I'm so fed up of these guys, they can't even wash cups. Why don't you get the cup and wash it? Have a cup of tea at 7. So you begin to sense the negativity in people when they begin talking and complaining about everything. They find a piece of paper, they complain that the cleaners are not cleaning. Why don't you pick up a piece of paper, carry on, find out the stairs and go to work? So you need to watch out for these traits. You know it's time to leave when there are no career growth opportunities. Some of us will get to a situation where we will work so hard, but because of the natural curve or the natural pyramid, there can only be so many people who will be promoted. So at that stage, you can take the option of leaving. But this has got to be after 3 years or 5 years. So some people are I find it quite ungrateful at times for people working, 6 months they're resigning, hoping to another job, hoping to a third job. During interviews, we always ask, We ask why you changed 3 to 3 jobs in a period of 1 year. The person says, no, they promised me this and the other and I didn't get it. So you need to be very cautious about that because it negatively impacts on you. You might think it's good that your employer wants somebody who's on the move or someone who's innovative, but it could work negatively against you as well. You begin referring customers to competition. There are people who work for company X, they begin customers walking and they say, no, actually, it's better if you go to the other company and you're selling the same product. This is a characteristic of somebody who's ready to leave. Once you get to that point, you know you should leave. Nothing makes you happy. When the company throws a party, you're so gloomy. You're seated in a corner complaining about the music, the DJ, the musicians. Nothing makes you happy. You're just grumbling from morning to evening. I always tell people who walk into my office, if you're going to complain, please walk out. If you're going to talk about a problem, start with a solution and tell me the problem. But don't walk in and start mourning because I'm not going to listen to you for a second. Because it depresses, it rubs onto somebody else. Have you had somebody who calls you and they're crying about nothing? If it's crying about something, it's different. But if it's nothing, it rubs onto you. You begin to mourn about things that are non-existent. And finally, when you're leaving, you need to ensure you have an effective handover. Some of us get other jobs, immediately resign an SMS, send me an SMS and say, sorry Rachel, I'm leaving, I'm not coming back. Forgetting that the marketplace is such a small place. We have a human resource association, and we all know each other. I'll immediately get onto the phone and call my friend and say, how can you risk with such a person? And the person says, what did they do? So they didn't hand over. And my friend will say, don't worry, 2 months, they'll be out. And that's the market. You need to know how you're leaving your current employer. Do not leave without a handover. Handover, give a proper notice. I didn't recruit you by SMS. Your letter, appointment letter was in an SMS, whatever. I gave you a letter, you came in, you signed, you went through an induction. So come back, resign, and you need the opportunity to have a handover. You need to work hard and tirelessly till the last day. So the moment some of us resign, we slow down. You come in at 10, you leave at 3. You pick up phones anytime. You're in a till, you're not supposed to be using phones. You speak on phone while serving customers. You need to work as though it was your first day, till your last day. You need to work your notice period. Remember, you get an employment letter, it says 6 months probation period. Notice period is 2 weeks in our case, during probation and 1 month after probation. It is always professional to work your notice period, unless your employer asks you to leave. Resign, take your letter to the head of HR and say, I'm willing to work my notice period. What are the key things you'd like me to finish before I move on? But do not simply SMS and not turn up. Because it's a very small market. Kampala is not as big as Nairobi or those that have lived in the UK or Joburg. So you are bound to make, your paths are bound to cross with your current employers. When you're leaving, you need to speak and praise your current employer. However unhappy you are, whether you feel you've been victimized, you've been a victim of circumstances, you need to speak well of your employer. Remember, this is your first job. This is a person who took a gamble on you. You had no experience in some cases, in most cases, and you are now going on trashing them to everybody that's willing to listen. You need to speak well about your current employer. Do not burn your bridges. This is similar to the point above and similar to the one below. You need to keep all doors and options of returning open. It's so amazing the number of people we've taken back. Of course, when there were new banks that came into the market, people were jumping from one bank to another. But over the last year, people have been coming back. And these are people who have been good leavers. There's a good leaver and a bad leaver. A bad leaver is the one that does all the bad things and doesn't even want to come into handover. And there's a good leaver who sits down and says, Rachel, I'm moving on, but I really would like to come back if there was an opportunity. And we always take back these people. But there are those that we don't take back, and they call on a daily basis and say, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. But we can't take them because we know the kind of people they already are. So finally, do we all know this gentleman? Do we watch sports? Do we have sports lovers? We know who he is. He's a recent sensation. This guy is running till the finish line. When you get a job,